good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is you're watching this video. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Ems and I am here on YouTube doing makeup and beauty content from time to time. So today's gonna be kind of a different video. I'm gonna tell you guys what's up ahead on my channel because I've chatted with a few friends and they had some very specific requests and I think they're good ideas, and so I wanna do them, but they all are gonna take a little bit of time. So I wanted to do a chit chat, get ready with me review and tell you guys my plans. All right, and while I'm at it, I'm going to kick off this foundation series, kind of sort of, for dry skin. So where I will give you guys tips and tricks on working with your dry skin. If you have dry skin out there, hello, I have extremely dry skin. So sometimes it's hard for us to try what everyone out there is trying because our dry skin just doesn't do well with a lot of foundations, and it doesn't do well with a lot of powders, like setting powders of that sort. So what I'm doing today. So as I get ready, I'm going to be reviewing this Marc Jacobs palette. This is the 750 Edgitorial palette. It is gorgeous. Marc Jacobs packaging, it's so slick and just looks so classic. So this is the palette, and isn't that so pretty? So it's very fall. You got your browns, you got your taupes, you got your olive colors, your golds. It's a very, very pretty palette. However, this isn't a first impression. This is just a full review. So I obviously used it on myself today, and the review part is gonna come really at the end. I'm gonna be mostly chit-chatting. It is not a tutorial. You guys are gonna see me applying the product, but really the review is gonna come at the very end when I check in before I wash my face tonight to see if these shadows lasted. Because when I first got this palette months ago, I tried it and I thought it was beautiful and it blended fabulously. So it blends great. The formula is so soft and just gorgeous. The pigment is amazing. And then the shimmers, like the feeling of them is so buttery and like perfection. I was thoroughly impressed when I first got this and tried it for the first time, until I came home and realized that the shadows had slipped all over my eyelids and they looked disgusting. And I was really disappointed, but I don't think I primed my eyes. So I thought, you know what? Let me give this another shot and do a review on it with you guys, for you guys, so you know how it performs. While I do that review for you, I will be talking to you about my dry skin. What's going to follow is a full foundation yes or no's on my channel. So it's a little series I'm working on creating. Every week or two, I'm gonna post a foundation review of the foundations that I think work really well for dry skin. Because they're still in my collection, and I have cleaned out my collection quite a bit to get rid of things that just don't suit my skin type. So all the ones I have left in theory should work well on dry skin, but I'm going to rate them for you. So that way you don't have to try all these. I'll just give you the 411. Without further ado, let's just get right into the video. You see, first tip for people who have very dry skin. So if you have very dry skin, my biggest recommendation is that it's not as important what foundation you choose as prepping your skin before you put the foundation on. So you want to make sure that aside from hydrating, if you have dry skin, chances are you're not drinking enough water. And I know we hate to hear that, but it's the truth. So aside from that very basic health tip in general, for people that have dry skin like myself, it's super important to pay attention to skin moisture, moisturizing your skin properly. So I try new products all the time, and I do have some of my favorites. So I always make sure that I use my heavier moisturizers at night in hopes that they'll seep in overnight and really hydrate my skin from the inside out. Honestly, that is probably the number one most important thing is skincare. If you have dry skin, you gotta help yourself out by properly moisturizing, so that way you have a base that just feels better to start off with. So that is number one, above foundation, above everything else. Like, what's two? I'm so lost. I'm gonna prep my eyes, and I'm also gonna add my Urban Decay, haven't used this in a while, the primer potion from Urban Decay, which is honestly my favorite primer. I think of all primers, it works spectacularly and it works the best to actually make shadows stay on longer. So I think the Paint Pot is a really nice base and I use it all the time, but I don't really think it makes the shadows last more. It does make them more vibrant, but lasting power, I would go with I would go with this primer potion for lasting power every single time over all other primers. I am double primed. We will see how these shadows go on today. Key factor number two for dry skin and base makeup. So I would say avoid completely matte foundations. So that could be really tough in an environment where it seems like every brand is coming out with a new matte foundation, which was definitely the case for the past few years. Matte foundations have been everything, and I've fallen for it. I have fallen for it over and over and over again. And let me tell you, not a single foundation that is completely matte has worked on me. It feels really uncomfortable and it's just not worth it. So avoid true matte foundations. Just avoid them. Can you make them work? Yes. Have I made some work? Yes. But you shouldn't have to work that hard. You know what I mean? If the product is meant to suit your skin, it's going to work without you having to add oils and sunscreen and 1,000 other things. So just avoid full matte foundations. They're not comfortable. They're never gonna be comfortable. It's just the way it is. So let's just not go there. I'm gonna go ahead and start right here with the brown, and that's gonna be my transition shade. It's kind of a cool tone brown, so it's a little different than we're used to around here. I feel like there's always exceptions to rules, so I'm just gonna throw one out there for you. One of my favorite all-time combos, and I hadn't done it in a while and I just did it recently, and it truly does stand the test of time, is the Kat Von D Lock-It Foundation. Is super thick and high coverage. I actually don't even think it's a fully matte foundation formula, but it's super high coverage and super heavy, which usually those foundation types land on the more matte side. So that foundation, I've always mixed it with my sunscreen because I put on sunscreen every day anyway. And it just works so perfectly. But again, I'm not having to do a lot to it. It's literally like 1 part foundation, 1 part sunscreen, and it's perfect. So I don't know, that one doesn't bother me just because it's not complicated. It's not like I've had to play with it. It's not like I've had to try different oils or a million different things to make it work. Literally 1 part foundation, 1 part sunscreen, and it's perfect. And it makes the foundation last like 2 times as long as it normally would. So that's a plus. Ooh, this green is so pretty. Oh, I am loving this dark olive tone green. Ooh, yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, so another general tip for y'all out there with dry skin, take your time finding powders that work for you, because for us dry skin girls, a lot of powders just won't. I've tried a ton of them, and most of them I just don't like the way they sit on my skin, and I don't like the way it looks, and I don't like the way it feels. So it's trial and error. Even if you have dry skin, you may not run into the same problems. I think maybe I'm just really nitpicky with powder. And I've always leaned toward liking the more natural, dewy look anyway. So perhaps that's part of my own personal issue. So all I'm saying is powder blushes, powder bronzers, powder, all those like extra steps are fine. What I'm talking about is setting powders and powders that are meant to like bake with. I don't bake. I've tried it a few times and it just has rarely gone well. And aside from rarely going well, even the times where it's actually looked okay, I could just feel my skin dying. I know that's a little dramatic, but I don't know, it just felt like my skin was literally dying underneath. I couldn't breathe. So baking is probably not good if you have dry skin. So that's another tip. It might look fun, it might look cool, but if it doesn't feel comfortable, don't feel like you have to do it. It's just not worth it to me. Okay, I'm gonna take the gold shade in the palette. There we'll go. You guys know how I like to work with my fingers with shimmers. And I'm gonna put that on the outside. Let's try that. Let's try this here. Oh, ooh, that kind of went everywhere. Gotta fix that, hang on. And by the way, the formula of the shimmers in this palette are unreal. They are so creamy. Okay, I added a little green on the corners again because I didn't want it all gold at the bottom. I did want to still have that green on the outside. I'm gonna go in to this shade right here, which is also a shimmer with super amazing creamy consistency. Next comment on how to deal with foundation on dry skin. Ooh, mama. Coming along here. Ooh, this tip should have gone with the prepping your skin. Sometimes it's really important to also exfoliate your skin when you have dry skin. So for me, I kind of do a twofer because I tend to have a hairy face. Thanks, good old Latino genes. I have one of those little like hair removing pen looking things. And so when I do that, I'm actually exfoliating my face. So I do that a couple times a week, sometimes only once a week, sometimes a couple, depending if I remember or not. And so I think that really helps to get rid of the drier skin that's sitting on top. So that's something that you guys can look into doing if you feel like you have dry skin, is just exfoliating those drier skin cells that are sitting on top and getting rid of them. There's also like face wash exfoliants. There's different ways to do that. I use one of those, and by the way, I know a lot of estheticians use those not to actually remove hair, but to actually exfoliate the skin. So just so you know. All this to say, I wanted to have this chat with you guys because I am going to go through my foundation collection. It kind of started out backwards. I started by trying the Kojin dough that I got this year that I hadn't really tried yet. So that's gonna be my first video up. I'm gonna rate all my foundations on a scale of 1 through 10. I'm gonna rate them on how comfortable they are on my dry skin, on how they stay, how they, you know, just overall the performance of the foundation. I've done a lot of cleaning up of products in the past year, so I've gotten rid of most everything that I wasn't a huge fan of. So I guess for better or worse, all the foundations I'm going to be reviewing for you all, for my dry skin community, are going to be ones that I actually like or I thought I liked, but when we put them side by side, 3 days one, 3 days the next, and so on and so on and so on, I think I'm really gonna find my favorites again. A YouTube research project that we'll do together. Because that's one thing that I had a request for, was to go through to recommend the best foundations for dry skin. And the truth of the matter is there's so many foundations out there. So that's why I wanted to start off with tips of like kind of the ones just to steer away from in general from my experience. And now I'm gonna jump into a whole series that goes through all my foundations that I think I like, which is why I still have them, and rate them on a scale. And let me know what you guys want me to look for in them. The first video up on this series is gonna be Kojin Dough. So I kind of apologize for that because that's a that's a super bougie foundation. Just know that's not the case. I have a ton of drugstore to your more typical Sephora brands. And then the Kojin Dough was out on a limb for me. I had heard so much about it and I was so curious and I had to do it. So don't take that to be how this foundation series is gonna go. There's a little bit of everything at a lot of different price points. And please, if you're interested in that foundation series, so that way you can find out perhaps what foundations will work on your dry skin because they work on my dry skin, then subscribe, hit the notification button, little bell, give me a thumbs up, and keep watching for those videos. All right, guys, thank you for sitting here and doing makeup with me today. My camera is going to die, and since it wasn't really about the look anyway, I'm gonna check in at the end of the night because I am reviewing this for you all after all. And I will let you guys know if it's a hot mess everywhere or if the double priming helped. Because I love the formula and I love the shimmer of the shimmers, and everything about this is ideal except for the fact that it just didn't stay at all the first time I used it a few months ago. So I'll come back tonight before bed and check in with y'all. Thanks. We'll see you then. I'm gonna give you guys a quick comparison so you have a before look to look at, so that way we can judge these shadows at the end of the night together and see if they moved all over the place, if they creased like crazy, or how they perform. All right, guys, I'm back. So we just took a nice long walk because we had the biggest dinner ever and the walk was necessary. Let's examine this. Hey! I know it's really weird. I'm like squinting. And they're good. This eyelash is popping off, so is this one. Fantastic. But aside from that, I mean, honestly, it's getting, like, the edges are coming off, but that's because, again, I have allergies. My eyes are constantly watering, and my eyes and my nose all freaking day. But overall, the eyeshadow, it's there. So, lesson learned, I suppose. So, the Marc Jacobs Edgitorial palette, very, very nice palette. Just take my word for it. You have to prime your eyes. And I would definitely suggest a strong primer. First time I tried them, even though I loved the formula, the blendability, and the punch from the shimmer shadows, they just, after a few hours, it wasn't even all day, like after a few hours, they were melting all over the place. They were like creasing like crazy. I've had this on since about 3 p.m. today, and it is now, what time is it? It is now 10 p.m. So it's 10 p.m. and we went out, we had dinner, we came back home, we relaxed a little bit, and then we took a really nice walk, probably a 45-minute to an hour walk, and we just got back in. So I'm like, I'm glowing. Okay, I'm sweaty, that's just legit. And it still looks pretty good for the fact that I am actually sweating. So I'm really glad that I actually was able to make this palette work because the formula is fantastic, and I was sad that they were melting all over my eye the first time. So yay! The Marc Jacobs palette is a success as long as you prime your eye. All right, guys, I have blabbed on way too long. Thank you so much for watching. As always, remember to spread love, not hate. Bye!